and welcome to Beyond the Bio. This week, I am joined by the incredible Maria Bayer, who is a sales and mindset strategist with extensive experience in software sales, having successfully negotiated high-value deals with industry giants like Target and Best Buy. With over $25 million in personal sales, she has developed a fresh approach to selling that blends strategic thinking with authentic connections, enabling small business owners to achieve significant growth without resorting to pushy or sales tactics. I love this. Drawing from her software sales success, Maria created Irresistible Selling, which is a results-driven program designed to empower professionals in the wedding and event industries to master high-value sales. There is a lot for us to talk about, Maria, but let's talk about how we met, because we met in LA a few months ago, didn't we?
We did, and that was so much fun. So what an amazing experience, wasn't it?
It really, really was. And I like to sometimes refer back to when I've met guests, because one of the topics that we talk about quite a bit on Beyond the Bio is networking and how you make those connections. And you will know this so much from the sales world and what it can then lead to. And one of my goals from going on that LA retreat was to meet great people who I could invite onto this show. So it's lovely to have you here, having achieved that aim.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so thrilled to be here and can't wait to dive in and chat with you.
Yeah. You've got so much experience, so much that we can learn from as well. So tell us a little bit about your journey. How did speaking in other people's communities come to be part of that strategy? Because that's something we're going to dive into today.
Yeah, so when I started out, I just sort of fell into my business. I didn't have a plan of exactly how that would happen, but I found myself with a program called Irresistible Selling. And I didn't really have a huge audience. I didn't have anyone. So I didn't know how to grow my business. And, you can build an audience, right? And that takes time. You can buy an audience that costs money, or you could borrow an audience. And I chose to borrow.
When you say that you had no audience, did you literally, you kind of had no audience? Tell us how big it was at that point.
So let me take you back. So the way I started my program was I had left the software world and I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I was freelancing, doing some consulting on the side. Meanwhile, I get married and I met a woman from an online course I had taken. There was an in-person event. Again, these events are really gold for meeting people. So I met her and she's like, I want you to create a sales course for me. And at the time she's an interior designer and she had this really large audience. And she's like, create a sales course for me because I can teach them the marketing stuff, but I don't really teach them sales per se. So I said, okay, I'll create a course for you. So I created the program and it went really well for her. Meanwhile, I get married and sometime after that, my wedding planner calls me up and she's like, Maria, I hear that you teach sales. And I said, yeah. And I said, what are you looking for? And she said, well, I just opened up a new studio. I have a bunch of people working for me and I need everyone taking sales calls so that we can put food on the table, right? I need to pay all these people. So I need all of us selling. And she thought, if you ask her now, she thought she was going to hire me for a sales spiel, right? So just an elevator pitch. And I said, let me talk to you about this and as I chatted with her and asked her questions, I was like, I have this program for interior designers, but I think it'd be perfect for you. Let me just customize it, right? Let me make all the examples really relevant to you. And so I did that almost as an experiment. And it worked so well that she doubled her prices and all of her team was selling. And she now cherry picks her clients. And fast forward, now she's one of the coaches in my program.
Oh,
but at the
amazing.
time, to answer your question, I had zero audience. I literally had her. And so I just said to her, could you help me spread the word in Chicago? That's where I was living at the time. And she's like, sure, let's do an event. So she organized an event for me. And I didn't know at the time, she knew everyone in Chicago. So, you don't know what you don't know. And I did not know that she ran an industry event in Chicago and she just knew everybody in the wedding industry. So she literally was introducing me to all these people. So I just did that event. I pitched my program And I had maybe, I don't remember, maybe 7 or 8 people join in that audience. And that's how I started. And I created it with the intention that I would grow by referrals. And then I just started doing some speaking engagements because it was the fastest way for me to grow. And that's how I started. So I literally had zero, maybe one.
And was there a turning point where you realized that approach of speaking to other people's audiences was working for you in a big way? Was there kind of a moment where it really took off?
Yeah, at first, it was the light bulb didn't go off, but it
Mm.
was a wonderful way to meet people because for me, I don't like hiding behind my computer. I like being with people. That's where I get my energy. Even though I'm an introvert, I still, as a business owner, we're behind our computer all day. It's very lonely. So I really get energized from being with other people. So I would go to these events and meet people, and she would say, you need to talk to Maria. You need to talk to Maria. You need to take her class. Like, she would literally just tell people, work with her. You know, you will not regret it. And so that's how I grew. And I just started getting a name for myself and people, because nobody teaches sales really. And certainly nobody teaches it in a way that feels really natural and good and not smarmy, as I
It's
like to
quite
say.
masculine sales, I think,
It's
sometimes. Well,
very masculine.
that's the perception anyway.
Yes. And every sales course I took back in the day when I was selling software, they were all from men, and they all didn't feel good. Right. So I had to find a way that felt good for me. So that's how I started. And I just started getting known for that. And then I was introduced into a lot of those circles, and they invited me to speak. And so that's how it took off. And I realized that I was building a lot of trust with people, and they were really hearing me and seeing me and seeing my energy and feeling that and knowing what kind of person I am, because I'm sort of the antithesis of what you think of when you think of a salesperson, because I am introverted. I am, very empathic, right? And I feel very deeply, and I can't do anything from a sales perspective that just doesn't align with my values and align with my integrity. And I think that's much easier to come across when someone meets me in person than if they're just reading an email from me.
I totally agree with that. So now, fast forward a few years and you've realized that strategy works. How do you now choose which communities or groups to speak in? How do you assess what makes a good fit? So if anyone's listening and they're thinking about this as an approach, like what should they be assessing to decide?
It's a really great question. It's almost that I think of it like networking, right? You don't want to just network with anybody in the universe, because not everybody can help you, right? Not everybody is at the same stage of business as you. Not everybody is in the same place as you or making the same income as you or in the same industry as you. So you have to take a look at those factors as well as what you have to offer. So what I personally offer is high ticket. So I'm not looking for huge numbers, right? If you have a low ticket offer, then you want to get somebody that has a mass audience, right? Because that's where you get your money, is the numbers. You're playing a numbers game. For me, it's more about a targeted audience, somebody that is, established in business, that already has inquiries, that has maybe hit a wall, that wants to raise their prices, but isn't sure how, right? Maybe maxed out at what they're able to do on their own. And now they need to bring in an expert to really help them get to that next level. So I look for audiences that are like that. And usually those are audiences that have paid to work with somebody. So I look at people's coaching programs or memberships, but something that is a little bit higher ticket is generally a better fit for me, because those are the people that are already investing, that are already serious, that are already kind of beyond that beginner stage, and they're ready for a program like mine, right? And a community like mine.
That makes sense. And what do you think people should be aiming for when they're speaking in someone's space? Is it always sales, or should you be looking at, just starting out that pipeline, or brand awareness, or credibility? You're probably going to tell me all of these things, but what would you suggest?
I think it depends on what your goals are for your business at that time. If you're just starting out and you just need to get an audience, then you don't have to be as discerning, and you can just get some numbers because you just need to get practice, right? but I think it's important for you to just understand what that goal is. And if you just want people on your list, for example, then you just give them a freebie, right? So I really like to tailor what I give to the audience. And sometimes I make something brand new for it, depending on who the audience is and what they're needing. But I certainly tailor my conversations. People talk about having like a signature talk, and I do. I have different versions of signature talks, but I also like to be very specific with the audience that I'm talking to and curate it as much as possible so that everything resonates and it's not so general and 30,000 foot. That way I can give them really good strategies and examples of things that they can use, because that's part of my goal, is to show them that it doesn't have to be pushy or salesy, that they can get very fast results. So I like to give them very practical things that they can do that feel good, that get them a quick win. And so I just base what I offer on that. So again, if you're just looking to grow your audience, give them some kind of freebie. But if you're looking to get people into a program specifically and you think that that audience is aligned, then there's no problem in offering that program if it feels aligned. And of course, if the person that's hosting you is okay with that as well.
Really important to check that. But yeah, that makes complete sense. I really like that thought that obviously goes into it, so that the audience are going to get the best experience, but you're ultimately going to get the best result for your time as well. Love it.
Right.
Have you noticed a difference between live events versus virtual events when it comes to impact and audience building?
Yes. Live events always convert better.
As in
Always.
person?
In person.
Right.
Yes. So I've done a lot of in-person events, whether it is usually they're not summits, but retreats or some kind of industry event where it's multi-day and I'm one of the speakers. That tends to really do well because you're usually immersed with that audience. You're usually spending time with them outside of your talk. And so that allows them to get to know you and really see who you are. And to me, it's all about relationship building. That's how I teach. So I like to be meta in what I teach, because it really helps people see it, and to be with people and to be able to create that relationship and that trust, especially today, because think about the trust gap that there is today. People have been burned by so many different coaches and programs that they thought were all that and did not deliver, even from people with like quote unquote big names. And so it's really important for me from an integrity standpoint, just to let people get to know me and feel comfortable, because I don't want them asking for a refund. And B, I want them to go in with eyes wide open and feel really good about it, that we align with our values and align with our integrity and the way that they want to book clients. Really.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That makes sense. And that totally resonates with what I think about you as well. So in terms of speaking in other people's masterminds or at summits, etc., is it a mix of people approaching you to speak in them and you putting yourself forward? And you pitching?
That's a really good question. It's a mix of both, but historically it's been more of them coming to me.
Okay. And how have they found you? Is it that they've seen you speak at something else, or how's that happened?
They've seen me speak at other places. They've gotten referrals from the people that are attending their events. Like, who do you want to see? And so people hear about me. So and I think also too, because I like to give a really good experience, I want to make sure that they walk away with tangible strategies. And if possible, like, my goal is always to think about the person whose event that is, whether it's virtual or in person. I want to make that host look good. I want to make sure that the trust that that host put in me is well placed, and that I do right by their audience. And for me, that translates into, how can I help you make a sale really quickly so that you want to come back to that event, because the impact of those speakers was so great. You made your money back, but it was well worth the connections you made and the impact it had in your business.
Perfect. And if you are pitching yourself to speak at someone's event, on those rare occasions, they're probably going to be the next level up, I guess. What do you do to pitch to them in a compelling way?
I like to really do my homework and show the person. I think there's so many people today that just send out a whole load of emails, right? And they're not personalized at all. You can tell they have no idea what you do, and they don't personalize the ask to that particular person and how they can be of value to them, right? So I like to really think about who is the host, what are they trying to accomplish with their audience, and then how can my particular expertise help them further their goals and help bring value to their community, and how does it align with who they are. So I try to really match that. No different really than when you're looking to network with people, right? You really want to find the people that align with your values. Just like when I look for clients, I want people that align with my values, that align with how I teach, and just the fact that we don't want to try to sell everybody. We want to try to sell people that are a good fit, good mutual fit. So it's no different with podcasts or speakers or anything else. I think it's just really important to take that step and make sure you understand what that person does and what their audience needs, and then how you uniquely can add to that and add value.
Maria, how do you track or measure the success from these speaking opportunities?
A spreadsheet.
That's
So
good. Most people don't track these things, I don't think.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's hard, right? Because it doesn't always lead to an immediate sale per se, especially if you're doing what I do, which is high ticket. So it's not like somebody would necessarily convert immediately, but I track how many people are in that group, and like how many people attend, how many people opt into whatever lead magnet I'm offering, and then maybe how many conversations I have with those people and how many people eventually convert. But again, sometimes it's not an immediate ROI. Sometimes that ROI comes later, but it's important to know like whose audience does it resonate. Because sometimes, here's the thing, you could do all your homework, but sometimes that audience, for whatever reason, it's not the best fit. Even though it looks like a good fit on paper, it's not the best fit. Or maybe the person whose group you're in didn't accurately tell you who the audience was. And so what you're talking about is sort of a mismatch with them, which happens. But sometimes I'd rather speak to an audience of 15 people that are highly qualified than a group of 150 that aren't. So you really have to kind of suspend judgment and just let the numbers do the talking and see which ones really do convert best.
That's great advice. Do you ever repurpose the content from these sessions? Do you like get recordings or record it yourself? And how do you do that?
Yeah, we're getting better at that. I will admit that we haven't leveraged it as much as we should have, but I think now with the advent of more tools to make it easier for us, we're doing that much more often, and we're creating reels from snippets and segments that we're taking and repurposing those in social media, whether it's a reel or an email to my my list, or just creating new events for people and new webinars, for example.
What would you say to someone who's just getting started? So maybe like you, however long ago, and maybe they don't feel ready yet to speak in other people's communities. What advice would you give them?
Oh, I was that person, because I really don't like speaking in front of a big group of people. It's not my favorite thing in the world. Because to me, it's more of a performance, and it's more of, I want to pick the exact right words, and I want to make sure that I'm being very logical in how I explain things so that people can pick it up. And so I feel like there's a lot of pressure on that. But to me, the way I sell and the way I teach my clients to sell is more of having a conversation. So if someone's afraid to get started, what I would say, go to somebody's like in-person group where it's just like a meetup or a casual group in person. It's always more relaxed when you can just sit around a table and just have a fluid conversation. Right. I always prefer, like when I do a live with somebody, rather than doing like content and having a PowerPoint or, some kind of presentation, which I know everybody is so bored by, I'd rather just have a conversation and say, all right, what part of the sales process is challenging for you? Let's unpack that. And let me give you a real strategy that you can use literally today to feel better about that and get a booking. Right. So to me, that's a much easier conversation. I don't have to prep for it, right? Because I just naturally, I'm listening and I'm just giving you my advice. So for me, my advice would be just look for casual groups where you can have more of a Q&A, and then you'll start to build that muscle,
build it up,
and start to get more confident. I still get nervous before I do presentations.
I get nervous. Yeah.
Always.
There'd be something wrong if you weren't nervous. I think nerves show that you care. They're a good thing.
Exactly. You want to do a good job for everybody and you want it to be worth their time, right? So, yeah.
What's been your most memorable experience speaking in someone else's group, and why?
Oh, okay. So I was at one, this was a number of years ago, and I was one of the speakers. So I was one of the last speakers, and I hate being one of the last speakers. It's always such pressure. So I was giving the talk, and we were doing a Q&A afterwards. And one of the girls stood up, and she's like, and this was like unprovoked by me. She just stood up in the group, and she was one of my clients actually. And she stood up and she's like, everybody here, you need to like work with Maria. She is the real deal. She just literally, it was like a billboard for me. I didn't expect it, but it was just the warmest feeling I ever had. Like to me, I was like, that's the kind of community that I want to build. Like people that feel that strongly about the results that they got, that they would literally stand up in a group of people and say, you need to work with her because what she teaches works.
Amazing. I love that. So aside from yourself, who's obviously using this strategy really well, who else do you think is doing this brilliantly right now that we could look at as a great example to learn from?
Oh my goodness. Well, Lisa Johnson, of course, right? Mm-hmm. She's the queen of that. Gosh, there's so many examples. I know like in the wedding industry, there's a like speaker circuit. Like there's certain people that are known for different things that are always the person that people go to. If you want SEO, go here. If you want it, sales, go to Maria. If you want marketing, go here. So, gosh, you're really putting me on the spot.
Well, we can take Lisa. Lisa's been on this show. Yeah. She's known to our audience. She's good. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Maria. You've given us some really great thoughts there around memberships. And I think, when I think about my own experience, my own strategy, I think I need to be more intentional about it. And I don't really track what opportunities are created from me speaking at events. However, I do have a CRM where I can see where prospects and ultimately clients have come from. So I'll know whether that person has come from an event, but maybe I should be tracking other things, or I should be looking more holistically around when am I speaking and what am I speaking at, so that I've got that spread across the year. So I think there's loads of things that you can do with this strategy that are going to make it more impactful and get stronger results. So you've definitely given me a few ideas to think about. Okay. If anyone watching or listening hasn't come across you before, where is the best place for them to find you?
Wonderful. They can find me at Instagram at mariabayer1 or at mariabayer.com. And I have got lots of free goodies for people, like a book a client in 5-day challenge and a few other things that people can do for free.
That sounds awesome. And we will pop those links in the show notes to make it super easy for people to find you and for people to find your website and take up that challenge. Thank you very much, Maria.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening. If you're serious about growing your profile, take our free profile assessment quiz to see where you're at right now and get hints and tips on how to improve your score. You'll find the link to the quiz in the show notes. If you've enjoyed the episode, it would be mint if you'd subscribe, like, and leave a review. See you next Monday.